talk about something that came up a lot on stream last night. So last night we did our third Feedback Friday, where I basically played everyone's games from the community, from Discord, from YouTube, from Twitch. We had a ton of fun. I played through a ton of games, but one of the things that kept coming up, and this comes up in most Feedback Fridays, because I'm a filthy casual and I'm not a very good player in most games. I'm just one of the dudes that likes to run at shit and shoot shit and do whatever I do. A lot of games that I played yesterday, but also games in general from independent developers, lack an objective. They lack, and if they don't lack an objective, they lack disclosing the objective. And this is one of those problems that we don't really see as a problem in AAA industry, right? Because we just take it for granted. We just think, oh, all these games, like, you know, when they tell you the mission briefing or they give you a little icon on their HUD or the marker on your radar, it's just something that we expect it. But when you're an independent creator, when you're a developer, when you're a programmer or an artist, when you create these things, a lot of times you can lose sight of the little details like that. And for you, you might actually spend a ton of time creating stuff and building this world and the characters and the weapons and all that stuff. And then when it comes time to actually having someone play it, you're just like, oh, well, they could just play it. They could just, you know, but you forget that, like, you know, the objective, you know what you're supposed to do. You know, the things that the game is good for and all that stuff. Another person doesn't know. So I see this a lot in indie games specifically, where they're almost kind of like tech demos sometimes because they don't really have an objective. I don't know where to go. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And it came up, a couple people were asking a bunch of questions about objectives. And because one of the things I mentioned a few times was there were games where I wasn't sure if I was supposed to survive or kill a few enemies or what. And I was saying, like, just two little words on the screen, like, or just one word, like the word survive or kill all the enemies or something like that. Those two things make a big difference in how I play the game. Like, if it says survive for 30 seconds, I'm going to play a little bit more defensively. Where if it says kill all the enemies, you know, to move to the next round or something like that, then I'm going to go out and seek a bunch of different enemies. I'm going to be a little more explorative. I'm going to be a little more aggressive. So, like, the objective really matters. But I got a couple questions that asked, like, Tim, do you think objectives have to be stated? Do you think they have to be written? And the answer to that is no. I don't think they need to be written at all. In fact, the best games give you the objectives without actually telling you the objectives. There are a lot of ways to do this. You could do this through story, right? If you set up a villain in a way that where they're seriously evil, and then you introduce their henchmen or whatever you're fighting in the game, you can set it up in a way where, okay, I know I need to get to the villain. You know, I just watched the cutscene or I just experienced the thing, whatever. You can tell the story without actually, like, telling the player whatever. Sometimes it still helps to actually tell them the objective, right? Like, get past floor 1 to floor 2 to get to the boss or whatever. But you don't actually have to say that most of the times. You can also tell the objective with icons and markers. So, like, the radar example is a perfect one. A little marker on your radar, a little marker on your HUD, and where you're supposed to go. These have their places. They make a lot more sense for casual games, or casual games or games for a casual audience that may not necessarily pay attention. And I notice for me, like, maybe I fall in this category because I like games to kind of tell me what to do and where to go. Open world games are fun for me. I like exploring, but I always like having that mission, like, to know where I'm supposed to go. If I'm just exploring, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. It gets on my nerves really fast. So I actually really like how Destiny does this, because they will let you explore for a little while, but if you take too long, Halo did this too, I think. Bungie's always been good at this. But if you take too long, a little marker will show up on your HUD. So they give you the chance to kind of explore and find your way. And you kind of feel like, oh, I discovered this. But then if you're actually taking too long, which I've gotten lost in Halo levels before, especially in Halo 1, man, some of the Forerunner levels, oh my God, those were mazes. But it would show up a little marker on your HUD. So that's cool. That's kind of like a trade-off. The other way, and Bungie's really good at this too, but I've seen this a lot in AAA, not so much indie, but you can tell someone the objective with level design and with lighting. So you can build a level to kind of converge on an area. You can build a level with a bright light, maybe next to a corridor or next to a cavern or something they're supposed to go into. You can kind of guide players' eyes with negative space or lighting or a bunch of different things that you could try. And this is really effective too, because it can kind of guide players. It can make the player feel like they're in an open world and they're making their own choices. But in reality, we know that players usually go towards the shiny objects. So by building a system that kind of is drawing them in, either you put an enemy at the door, or you could put lighting, or just using level design to your advantage, you can make a really cool level that is actually smaller than it seems, because it seems like it's a little more open. But at the same time, you can kind of give someone the objective without actually telling them objective. But the objective overall, I think, is really important. And we forget a lot of times to implement objectives into our game, especially for people that are not familiar with the game or the story or how the game works. And one of the things that, like, it always upsets me, and it's enough to make me quit a game most of the time, is when I don't know what the objective is, and there are far too many games like that. So I'm hoping that you've learned something from this, hoping I shed some light on some stuff for you. If you found it useful, leave me a like and a comment down below. Let me know if there are any games that you think really did showing an objective well. Are there any games that really did a good job of this? Let me know down in the comments below. Once again, my name is Tim Roswick, and I'll see you again tomorrow.